Hey guys, so first off, I want to start off by introducing myself. My name is Michelle Cordova. Obviously, my topic is on coral reefs. I'm going to go ahead and give you a background about what coral reefs are really about, and I know we may know some of the basics already, but I figured this is a great topic to go ahead and get more deep into it and just trying to figure out what's going on with it and why it is so important. So first off, I want to let you know that my PowerPoint really does consist of pictures only. I figured it'd be a lot more easier and funner if you guys were just to look at the pictures and I do all the talking, of course. So first off, coral reefs are underwater structures that look like rocky gardens and are covered with tiny animals called coral polyps. It was the hardest word I've ever had to say in my life. I'm just kidding. Um, Also, besides that, it is also known to be a healthy habitat that is balanced of non-native species. Um, when new species with no predators around are introduced to this reef, they can start to take over by creating the reef, which consists of consuming light, oxygen, food, and other resources that are really beneficial to the coral reefs. When the species that are non sorry, I had a brain fart, non-native species, um, end up taking over this. The reef actually, when the reef gets weakened or corals die, the species end up declining and disappearing, which then arise a whole load of complications to our poor reefs. Um, oops, sorry. First, this is a picture of our reef, which doesn't look very pretty, does it? It's because it is bleached. What happens is it's when high water temperatures arise, and that's due to the fact that carbon dioxide in our atmosphere rises, and fossil fuels are then going into our ocean because we're burning fossil fuels all the time. And this just means that the polyps living there are not going to have a home anymore because this reef is dying. As you can see, normally there will be a ton of fish here, but as you can see, some are starting to realize that this reef is dying. There's some here, a little bit over here, and it looks like some are maybe even leaving. So, basically, it's when our water has a very low pH level, and nobody wants a low pH level in the ocean because that just means the water is becoming acidic, and that makes it very hard on our sea creatures, especially since they have to work twice as harder to rebuild the reef. The fishes actually help the coral reefs a lot, and they help them stay alive because they are consistently cleaning them and bringing them back to life. And this is just a few examples of what bleaching looks like. And this is a really good example of how in December 2014, it was super, super healthy. It's very colorful. Well, not very, but it just, you can tell that it's obviously not dead. And over time, you can see how hot it's been and how the water, the temperature, the acidic, all the stuff that's going on really takes a toll on the reef and it ends up dying, which is sad because it's like a 5 month, no, 7, 8 month process of a reef dying. And that just means this whole reef lost out on nutrition and it lost out on a lot of fish that's able to help it. Um, this is a picture of the 2016 bleaching mass event, which was, look at how beautiful it was, and now it's just what happened. Did someone paint you? That's not the case here. But what happened was, according to The Guardian, there was a massive bleaching event where coral in every major reef region had already experienced severe bleaching. And about 93% of the reefs on Australia's Great Barrier were really affected, and almost a quarter of the reef died, which is huge because that was a really big reef, obviously. And just the fact that a quarter of it died, quarter more, and there wouldn't be a reef anymore. Um, this is just a picture of pollution and sunscreen. So, first off, pollution is a big part in why our reefs die as well. Not only does it kill our sea creatures, it also really affects our water because it makes it really dirty and then it already is. And it doesn't help because it's not allowing our ocean to be clean. It's become a big epidemic because if we don't clean up after ourselves or at least try to volunteer to pick up trash or do something beneficial for our coral reefs, many of the fishes will die because they will either choke on the plastic, eat it, or get stuck in it and not able to breathe or swim, which isn't really good at all. And that just means we will have a loss of fish and then a loss of food, and that just means fish in the sea will just become extinct due to our due to our doing for us not picking up after ourselves. This right picture I had put sunscreen because sunscreen, believe it or not, is a main reason why sometimes our coral reefs don't make it. And we did go over this in class about oxybenzone and oxyate that are very harmful to our coral reefs. And recently in Hawaii, they passed a law stating that we cannot wear those. Obviously, we don't live in Hawaii, but it'd be really great if that came to the U.S. or all around the world, so we can really help our coral reefs. Sorry, I'm talking fast. I only have like 3 minutes left. Um, One of the reasons why this was so important was because I never knew that sunscreen would be so bad for the ocean and so good for us at the same time. You know, we don't really take that into effect or really think about that. And if we obviously don't use ingredients like that, then we can be able to restore our reef and get rid of what's really hurting it. This is a picture of obviously the sharks. I didn't know this, but every year they take a journey through the ocean and they use the reefs as a home and as a habitat area to, relax and rejuvenate themselves. But what I didn't know is that since some of the reefs have been dying lately, they've had less resources to go to, which means they either have to swim longer or they either don't have any time to rest, which obviously is exhausting. Um, what happens is also that they end up going to a reef where they really don't normally go, and species that are already there are really scared, obviously, because they don't see these kind of things very much often, especially sharks, and they're very big predators. This is just a picture of a beautiful reef and their fishes, along with this one. This one was my favorite. Also, as of May 2018, I found out that coral reefs in the Red Sea have been resistant to the climate change and actually been surviving and haven't died, which is awesome because scientists are now trying to figure out why this reef is blooming and looking beautiful. And there's a whole bunch of international teams of marine scientists from many institutions around the US trying to figure out what's going on and why this is working out so good for the Red Sea so we can help out other reefs that aren't so lucky. Lastly, I do want to talk about medicine. I never knew that coral reefs would be so big to the medicine era. I mean, David Vaughan, which we learned from class, actually was testing medicine on coral reefs, which they would actually implant different diseases and cancers on them to see which one would react the best and didn't obviously die. And what had happened was the coral reefs, plants, and animals that are being tested actually were able to treat cancer, arthritis, and many other diseases that are out there that haven't been cured yet, which is really, really big. And one of the main reasons I chose this topic was because of our class. And I wouldn't have ever known this interesting topic was so big, so important until we started talking about it. Um, Honestly, if I could go back and redo this project again, I would still choose coral reefs because there's so much information, and in 10 minutes, it's so hard to cover everything Oh, there's my timer. Sorry, guys. But it's just like, it's really great to know that we have these resources to us, and we just need to do our part and do a little bit better to help it stay alive, to help it live at least 20,000 more years. But thanks, guys, for listening to my PowerPoint. I hope you all have a good one.